Edward Snowden. If you've ever felt like your phone was listening to you because you saw an ad for a product you just talked about, you can thank Edward Snowden for confirming your paranoia. In 2013, Snowden, a contractor for the National Security Agency, walked out of his office in Hawaii with a cache of top secret documents and headed for Hong Kong. What he revealed was a digital nightmare. The NSA wasn't just tracking terrorists, they were tracking everyone. Through a program called PRISM, the government had backdoor access to the servers of major tech giants like Google, Facebook, and Apple. They were collecting metadata on billions of phone calls, reading emails, and even tapping into the fiber optic cables that carry the world's internet traffic. Snowden's leaks showed that the US government had built a global surveillance dragnet that would make George Orwell's 1984 look like a children's bedtime story. The government's defense was basically, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. But Snowden argued that privacy is the foundation of a free society. The leak led to major changes in privacy laws and the way tech companies encrypt your data. It also made Snowden a man without a country, eventually seeking asylum in Russia. Whether you see him as a hero or a traitor, he's the reason we now know that every time you post a meme or send a "you up" text, the government is probably keeping a copy for their records. The Panama Papers. Imagine you're a world leader or a billionaire. You have more money than you could spend in 1,000 lifetimes, but you have one major problem: the tax man. You don't want to give a cut of your hard-earned or unearned wealth to things like schools or roads. So what do? You call a law firm like Mossack Fonseca. In 2016, an anonymous whistleblower known only as John Doe leaked 11.5 million documents from this Panamanian law firm. It was the biggest data leak in history at the time, and it exposed a global web of offshore shell companies used by the ultra-rich to hide their money from the world. We're talking about 140 politicians from over 50 countries, including 12 current or former world leaders. The documents showed how the global elite used tax havens to move trillions of dollars around the world in total secrecy. While you're worrying about whether you can afford the premium version of Netflix, these people were buying $50 million apartments in London and yachts in the Caymans using companies that technically didn't exist. The fallout was massive. The Prime Minister of Iceland was forced to resign within days, and the leak triggered thousands of investigations worldwide. It confirmed what many of us already suspected. There is one set of rules for the average person and a completely different set for the people at the top. Wikileaks and the Iraq/Afghan war logs. In the early 2000s, a name became synonymous with the word leak: Julian Assange. But the real power behind the Wikileaks phenomenon was an Army intelligence analyst named Chelsea Manning. Manning had access to a massive trove of classified military and diplomatic documents, and what she saw deeply disturbed her. She leaked nearly 750,000 documents, including the collateral murder video. This was a leaked video from an Apache helicopter showing U.S. forces firing on a group of people in Baghdad, including 2 Reuters journalists. The video and the subsequent war logs pulled back the mask of the Iraq and Afghan wars, revealing that the civilian death toll was much higher than the government had ever admitted. But it wasn't just military secrets. The leak included Cablegate, a collection of over 250,000 diplomatic cables that showed what world leaders actually think of each other when the cameras aren't rolling. It was like a global version of a burn book from Mean Girls, but with nukes and trade deals. The leak fundamentally changed how we view the war on terror and sparked a global debate about the line between transparency and security. Governments were furious, and the fallout led to a decade-long legal battle for Assange and a prison sentence for Manning. It turns out that when you tell the world the truth about what happens in the shadows of war, the people in charge don't usually send you a thank you card. The Pentagon Papers. Long before the internet and USB drives, there was Daniel Ellsberg and a very busy Xerox machine. In the late 1960s, Ellsberg was a military analyst who worked on a top-secret Department of Defense study about the Vietnam War. The study, which became known as the Pentagon Papers, told a devastating story. It revealed that 4 successive presidential administrations, from Truman to Johnson, had systematically lied to the public and Congress about the war. The documents showed that the government knew the war was likely unwinnable, but they kept sending thousands of young men to die anyway, just to avoid the political embarrassment of a defeat. Ellsberg spent months secretly photocopying the 7,000-page report and leaked it to the New York Times. The Nixon administration tried to block the publication, leading to a landmark Supreme Court case that protected the freedom of the press. The Pentagon Papers didn't just turn the public against the Vietnam War, they shattered the public's trust in the government. It was the first time many Americans realized that the people in Washington weren't just misinformed, they were actively and intentionally deceiving the nation. It laid the groundwork for the Watergate scandal and changed the relationship between the press and the presidency forever. The Pandora Papers. If the Panama Papers were a warning shot, the Pandora Papers were a nuclear blast. Leaked in 2021, this was an even larger collection of nearly 12 million documents from 14 different financial service firms. It was the Panama Papers on steroids, revealing that despite all the promises of reform and transparency, the global elite had simply found newer, more creative ways to hide their wealth. The leak exposed the secret offshore accounts of 35 world leaders, over 300 public officials, and even a few celebrities and spiritual leaders. It showed how billionaires use shell companies to buy luxury real estate in places like Malibu and Monaco, all while avoiding millions of dollars in taxes. What made the Pandora Papers so powerful was the sheer scale. It showed that the shadow economy isn't just a small part of the world. It is the world. It's estimated that up to $32 trillion is hidden in offshore tax havens. That's enough money to solve world hunger and fix the climate. The Pandora Papers proved that no matter how many laws are passed, the people with enough money will always find a way to stay above the law. It's a global game of hide and seek where the stakes are trillions of dollars and the future of the global economy. Which of these leaks do you think changed the world the most? Are you more worried about the government reading your texts or world leaders hiding all the money? Thanks for watching.